Chapter 3, Lesson 1, Algebraic Expressions. We are getting into Chapter 3, which is all about expressions and then equations. So we're going to start with what are algebraic expressions, and there's a bunch of vocabulary this entire chapter to keep on top of. But let's first discuss like terms. Like terms are terms that have the same variables raised to the same exponents. We say that they're alike. So any numbers that stand alone, like -3 and 1/2, those are examples of like terms. We call those constants. They're just our numbers. Numbers are alike. We can combine them, which I'll share how to do in a few. Another example is 4x and a -x. They have the same variable, x, and they're raised to the same exponent, which is just 1. 1 doesn't have to be written, but it's invisible and it's there. Another example is 3x squared and -1/4 x squared. Notice they have the same variables, x, and they have the same exponent, which is 2. So hopefully what you noticed is that all that matters is that they have the same variable raised to the same power. The number out front does not have to be the same. Just like with numbers that stand alone, they don't have to be the same number to be alike. So next, an algebraic expression is in simplest form when it has no like terms and no parentheses. So we say that it's simplified when there are no more like terms and there are no parentheses. How do we combine like terms? Well, in order to combine like terms, they must have the same variable. Then we're just going to use the properties to add or subtract the coefficients. Constants are like terms, so add or subtract the constants. And I'm going to tell you what are coefficients and what are constants. It's those two words that I just highlighted there. So let's review this. What are coefficients? Coefficients is the number that's in front of the variable. So an example, if we have 4x plus 5, the number in front of a variable is 4. So we'd say the coefficient is 4. What are constants? Those are those numbers that stand alone. There are no variables. We don't see any letters. Remember, variables are letters in algebra. So if we have 4x plus 5, which number is standing alone here? That would be our 5. So let's try it. Identify the terms in the expression, and then we're going to identify which of those terms are like terms. So first of all, I just want to know all of the terms in the expression. So terms is every part of the expression is a term. So what I like to do is maybe kind of box and underline those terms. I like to kind of box anything that has a variable. So I see an x and an x, so I boxed it and I underline those maybe numbers that stand alone, those constants. You can do it any which way, but basically a term is any part of your expression. So then I would list out all of my terms. So here, 9x, -2, 7, -x. Those are all terms. You want to include the sign that's right in front of them. So notice how I said -2 and a -x. This is a +7, but I don't have to put that like plus sign. It's just positive. You can if you want. So now those are all of the terms. Out of those terms, which terms are alike? So remember, like terms are terms that have the same variable raised to the same power, or any numbers that stand alone are like terms. real quick. Let's look. So looking at your list of terms, we have 4 terms, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's pair them up. Which ones are alike? So if I have 9x, which other term also has an x, that same variable? I'd say negative x. That's a pair of like terms. There's also another pair here, our constants, -2 and 7. Remember, numbers that stand alone are alike. So we had 2 pairs of like terms, so make sure you list them out. We always keep them in pairs. Sometimes there might be a term that doesn't have anything alike, and that's okay. You just wouldn't pair it with anything. It would be a term, it just wouldn't have a like term to go with it. All right, let's move on. Let's practice simplifying expressions. So to simplify expressions, remember I guided you up here on the steps, we're going to combine like terms, okay? So simplest, an algebraic expression is in simplest form when it has no like terms and no parentheses anymore. So let's go through and do that. So when we're simplifying this, we're looking to combine like terms. So again, what I like to do is I like to box anything I see with a variable and keep that sign with it. And then maybe I'll underline our constants. So now let's look at what's the same. See how in black I boxed those 2 terms? They're like terms because they have the same variable. So we're going to combine those like terms by doing kind of what it says. So if I have a -3x and a -7x, how many total x's do I have? We'll take a look. Do they have the same signs or different? They're both negative, right? So when they have the same signs, we add them and keep the same sign. So -3 and -7 would give me -10, and then you always keep your variable with it. So that gives me -10x. Now that +4 or +4, I don't see any other constants, so I have nothing else to combine it with. So I'm just going to write +4. Can I combine -10x and a +4? No, because they're not alike. So we simplified this expression. That's it in simplest form. It should stay as an expression. Remember, an expression does not have an equal sign. We're not going to equal something. We're not going to get one answer. It should have terms, which in this case, -10x and then 4 are 2 terms left. They're not alike, so I can't combine them any further. All right, next example, let's do this again. I'm going to box my variables. Remember, we keep that coefficient in front of it. So 3/4 is the coefficient to y. And then I see another variable over here, a -1/2 y. And then I'm going to underline my constants. You can highlight, you can keep the same color if you're just using a pencil. That's why I say box and underline so that you can see the difference. If you want to maybe highlight your variables and then highlight your constants in a different color, go for it. This is all up to you. So now we're going to combine our like terms. So 3/4 y and a -1/2 y, they have different signs. So we're going to have to subtract them. In order to subtract these coefficients, they have to have the same denominator. So I'm going to change this to have a 4. So if I change it to, I would have to multiply it by 2. So this would give me 2/4. So what is 3/4 minus 2/4? That should give me 1/4 y. And now let's still combine our constants, a +12 and a -6. Different signs, so I'm going to subtract them. What is 12 minus 6? That gives me 6. And I take the sign of the larger number, so I know it's going to be +6. So now your final answer should be an expression. I'm going to write plus 6 since it's a positive 6. So I have 1/4 y plus 6. All right, next. Now notice this one's a little different. I see parentheses. I need to get rid of those parentheses first whenever I see parentheses. The way to get rid of parentheses is to distribute. I'm going to distribute that -2. Remember, you keep the sign with the number out front. So I'm going to distribute a -2. So I'm going to keep my 7g. And now let's do -2 times g. That gives me a -2g. What's a -2 times a positive 4? Be a -8. Now I got rid of my parentheses, but am I fully simplified? Did I combine all like terms, or do you still see like terms here? Hopefully you're noticing you see like terms. 7g and -2g. Really, you're just doing 7g minus 2g. What is 7g minus 2g? Should give you 5g, and then bring down your constant because I have nothing to combine that -8 with. So I have 5g minus 8. So that's just our notes on this first lesson where we're dealing with what like terms are, identifying them, identifying terms in general, and then simplifying expressions. Again, that's our first lesson. Just a few examples. Make sure you're asking your questions and